What up, you little goobers? Today we're going to be talking about the Super Fan Frontline and why you should be trying to play it every game. And here are the Super Fan units. These are the nuts, and we'll talk about why these are the nuts. But just real quick, I just want to show this screen. I will link this in the pinned comments. This shows all of what Superfan does, and then all of the Superfan items. I believe all of these are still accurate, but these are subject to change throughout balance. This is posted by the GOAT Leduc. We love Leduc, so shout out to Leduc. We love him. Anyway, so this show, if you need to know all the Superfan items, I just typed this in the Google as the first result, but I will leave a link in the pinned comment if you guys want to check this out. But for the most part, Superfan items are the items that you want on your carry for the most part. Like all of them are pretty much really, really, really good, and you'll really like them. Some of them are not super great, like tier 4, like TF. I don't really like Deathcap very much, but it gives you Deathcap, but it's fine. And then like Lucian as a tier 5, I don't really like Rageblade. But for the most part, you get really solid items. Like Ahri, I don't like Deathcap either. I mean, it's fine. It's not terrible. Hand of Justice, great here. You know, this is great. 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 Like most of them are going to be what you want. So here this is. If you guys want to look at that more, I'll leave the link below. So why Superfan Frontline? You probably have seen it if you've been watching any streams that pretty much everybody runs this Frontline if they can. And getting a Nico 2 and an Echo 2 is some of the hardest units in the world to hit. You should almost never chase for 3 stars because you are not going to hit if you're playing in any reasonable type of lobby. So yeah, Superfans is just so strong because it activates so many traits so easily, and it's so easy to splash KDA. Once you get Echo, it just this Frontline just gets really crazy. Echo is an amazing tank. Nico is a fantastic tank. Kennen is just the most broken one cost that's ever existed, maybe? No, probably not, but he's very good. You just toss one random component on him and just watch him deal 2k damage in a fight, tank 3k, and CC the enemy for half the fight. It's kind of crazy, and he's a one cost. He has just amazing traits, true damage, Superfan, Guardian. Lilia is the same way, where her unit power actually isn't very strong, but KDA, Superfan, and Sentinel are the best splash traits in the entire game. So that's why you'll see people running this Frontline the entire game. There is a time when you pivot out. But anyways, this is like ideal opener type stuff, and especially if you get this one chosen or this one chosen, or maybe, you know, and you're doing some rapid fire shit, maybe. Now, you don't have to have this opener or anything like that. If you're high rolling a different opener, go for that. Sure. Great. But you should be buying these units. And if you get a Nico drop, especially, you should be buying these 3 units every single game at the beginning of the game. But obviously, if you get just such clear direction to play, like, I don't know, like a country opener, and you have like a Samira drop, then just do that. That's fine. But you should be looking for these units every single game and have a keen eye if you get this, especially if you get a Nico or an Echo drop. Those are the best 3 cost drops in the game, especially for flexible play. This Frontline is so flexible, and this Frontline is so cheap. And so I'm going to go through a couple of scenarios with you guys. So obviously this is what we want as our opener, but you know, if you don't get one of these, play around Guardian, play around Sentinel, and hold these units. It won't grief your econ too much, because if you're playing around Guardians and Sentinels, you can hold these units. Again, if you high roll another opener and you just want to take it a different direction, that's fine too. But again, look to play this. All right, so here is a level 6 roll down. So typically you're going to want to switch your chosen, even if you get Kennen chosen, unless you're just like rolling over the lobby and you think you can sustain that and go for like a level 7 roll down instead. But typically you want to switch out your chosen on 3-2. Even if it's get Kennen chosen, you just hold an extra Kennen on your bench, sell your Kennen, and then roll. And so here's a scenario, like you're really high rolling, you hit like Jazz Bard. If you hit Jazz Bard, this is what your board looks like on level 6. Sometimes this is Misfortune, sometimes that's Kai'Sa. I generally just play the one that I have upgraded, and if not, I just kind of default to Kai'Sa if I have Jazz chosen. If I don't have if it's Dazzler chosen, then obviously I'll play Misfortune here, and then I'll play Kai'Sa at 7. So this is like the high roll, you hit the Jazz thing. And if you guys want to know how to play Jazz, go a little bit more in depth, and I'm going to cover here. I have a guide on the channel that I uploaded yesterday because I play a lot of this comp. It's definitely in my rotation, and I used it to climb a lot of LP. I had like 4 first place in a row playing this comp. Pretty cool. Anyways, so yeah, so if we do our roll down, let's say we high roll, we get our Bard chosen. Your Bard's item that he gets from Superfan is Adaptive Helm, and then, you know, you just put whatever you want here, but I really like Sojin and Morello. I think it's pretty good combo, but you know, you can put whatever here, you can put Nashers, whatever. That's fine. Cool. And then you want to put your main tank items on Echo usually, unless you have a 2-star Nico in which he can hold those items. This item combination is very, very, very broken. Steadfast Heart and Crown Guard. So I really like building those if I can, but if not, you know, build whatever. And then I like to have healing reduction in my comp by this point in the game if I can. And usually it's a Morello here or Morello onto my Echo. And then on Kennen, you just want to toss a random component on him. Whatever you want to put on him is fine. If you want to do a completed item on a 2-star Kennen, that's fine. But you usually will remove that later on in the game if you keep a Kennen 2-star on your board. So just know that. So I just like dropping a component so it's easier to move around. But you can put a completed item there. That's fine. And then, yeah, so this is an example of what your level 6 roll down could look like. If you rolled, if you had the Superfans, you just toss the Superfans in, grab the Echo, and then look for a backline chosen. And you'll be good to go. Alternatively, if you have like a 2-star backline, you can look for like a Mordekaiser Sentinel chosen or something like that as well. Like, you don't have to take a backline chosen, but all the examples in the video today, I'm going to be showing backline chosens. Okay, so this is an example. This is the nuts. So like if I get this, I have insane tempo. You can look to reroll Senna, or you can look to, or just use this for great tempo. And so let's say we got a Senna true damage chosen. Then our comp would look exactly like this. We just toss in Aphelios. Is this 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, yeah, 6. Okay. Yeah, you just toss this in. We can splash in KDA if we want. If this was rapid fire chosen, we would just play 3 true damage, and we could play a KDA unit here. We could toss in a random Yasuo to get 4 true damage. If it was rapid fire chosen instead. So just know you can do that. And your comp would look just like this. Put your Sojin here. I highly recommend building, if you want to play very flexibly, building a Sojin and Morello is like the best flex items, because it just can take you into AP comps, which is AP comps are very good, especially with a lot of tempo. And then you can end your game with a Ziggs carry if you want to first place. So anyways, so this is what it looks like if you play Senna. Really easy, guys. Like, doesn't this seem so easy so far? You just play the Superfan frontline. It's so cheap and it's so flexible. Let's say we hit a Vex Executioner chosen. We hit the Vex Executioner chosen on our roll down. We just toss in a Mumu, play Vex. If we hit Vex Emo chosen, and we have 3 out of 2 Guardian, who cares? That's great. And then our next level, we would just add another Guardian, right? We'd add a Thresh or a Taric or something like that, or whatever, If it was a Vemo chosen, then we would play Vex with Emo, and then we would just play a random Executioner here. You're good to go. Really simple, right? If we hit Lux, it would just be, let's say we hit Lux EDM, then we play Bard here. If we hit Lux Dazzle, then we can play whatever unit we want up here, just a solid frontliner, or just we could just still play Bard, even if it's Dazzle, or we can play a random EDM unit to give our EDM. That's fine too. I typically just would play another Dazzler at this point in the game. EDM is very strong when you have the vertical, but 2 EDMs kind of whatever. Next up, now we're going to talk about, I'm going to give some examples of some 4-cost boards when you do your level 8 roll down. So let's say you built Ahri items, you end up hitting an Ahri 2-star, and you're looking for a chosen. You didn't get the Ahri, that's fine. You don't need the Ahri. But we got Blitzcrank Sentinel chosen. This just fills out our team perfectly. We get a Blitzcrank Sentinel chosen. We just add Lulu for Spellweaver or the other girl, Seraphine, and then add a Ziggs, and we have a double Hyper Pop, and Ziggs is amazing. Alternatively, we could play an Alawi here, just a random legendary. We play a Yorick here. He's a Guardian. And we just have 3 out of 2 Guardian. That's fine. And this is a great level 8 board. I'm not going to talk about this too much in this video. I think I'm going to do a separate video just for this. But if you guys have noticed, 4 costs don't really win the games right now. They, at least on the current meta, they only top 4. So like this comp would only top 4. But what's great about this comp is it's super, super, super cheap. And just hitting this Blitzcrank and then hitting your 4 cost carry, that's a very cheap board because we're still playing a lot of 1 costs and they're super good. And we'll take this and try to win the game probably with a Ziggs 2-star and sell our Ahri, move the Ahri items. Eventually, if we can make the board that looks kind of like this, we have good tempo. We want to go 9 and build a Ziggs board usually from this spot to win the game. I'll probably do a separate video on how to first place on this patch by using Superfans to get to legendary units. That'll probably be a separate video because that'll be more about late game building rather than how to navigate the early mid and early late game, which is what this video is mainly for. Okay, here's an example of a Twisted Fate board, and I'm just showing you guys how you can just take any random frontline chosen as long as you have like a backliner or something like that. So like in this instance, we got a Zac chosen, right? We got a Zac EDM chosen. Obviously, we're going to play Lux with that, and then we have our TF, and then we have the same team, and we just add a Bruiser, which is probably going to be Gragas. Obviously, when you play TF, you want to get Disco in. And so I'm showing this as an example because we're going to want to eventually get out of the Superfan frontline because getting Disco is quite powerful. So we would probably want to drop this Lilia and get out of Superfan and play the Sentinel guy, play Blitzcrank here, and then we can have our Disco comp rolling. And then Kennen is a fine Guardian to play until we hit like a Thresh 2-star or a Yorick or something like that. And then we can eventually replace him with those guys. And that makes a very strong comp. And again, when you're playing AP comps, your goal should always be to get to the Ziggs comp. So we can build this comp very, very, very cheap. And then we can build a more expensive comp with TF as our main carry, get a very good placement in the game by switching into Blitz and Thresh or Yorick, and then go legendaries, go 9, and then play our little Dazzle guy and try to get out of TF and get into Ziggs main carry usually. Here's an example because I want to show an AD comp. I don't play a lot of AD comps right now. I don't think they're nearly as good as AP comps. It's unless you want to consider Akali an AD comp, but I don't really consider that an AD comp usually because Akali is just a carry that you play with any random backline carry. In this instance, we are playing double AD carries. Right. One thing to mention, I don't really think the Superfan frontline works super well with Zed. You will definitely pivot out of Superfans usually when you hit the Zed, and you'll get more into EDMs, bruisers, that sort of thing. So just know that if you want to play Zed, I think it's a little bit different, but you can still maintain the temporary Superfan frontline always. Like, it's just so cheap. Here's an example of Ezreal. His item is a Deathblade, I believe. And then like here's some decent items to play on Ezreal. And then here's like a comp we can make where, we got Big Shot chosen right here. And then we want another carry. So let's say we just hit an Akali 2-star. Akali will give us KDA, and we have like extra AD items to play Akali or Zed or something like that. We could play Akali here with Vex, with the Mumu, or 3 out of 2 Guardian, but that's fine. And then we can go 9, play an extra Guardian, and then try to pivot to like a Lucian comp or something like that. Eventually, that can be good to go. We could play this with Ezreal, and then we hit a Zed, and then we play like we hit a Zed, and then we play like, I don't know, a random crowd diver. We could like Evelyn could give us KDA just as a random crowd diver, and then we could play Zachary here or something like that. If you wanted to, like, there's some extra things. Again, I don't really like playing AD. But the point of this video is, guys, I just wanted to show you how flexible the Superfan frontline is. And if you're not playing around it, you need to be, or at least learn how to play around it. You don't have to play it every game, but I'll just be honest, guys, when I'm playing every game, I try to play this frontline unless I'm like super high rolling in another direction. Like a frontline that doesn't really support, or a team that doesn't really support this frontline is like country reroll. You're going to play more around bruisers, crowd divers, Guardians, that sort of thing. And you can still run this kind of temporarily, but you usually get out of this pretty early, a frontline that looks like this, when you're playing countries and that sort of thing. Again, the Zed comp doesn't really support this very well. So obviously you don't have to play this every game, but you should have this in your back pocket because this is the most cost-effective frontline in the entire game and is a great way to first place. If you get ahead with this type of frontline, it's so cheap that you can just get such a good lead, and then you can win the game by going 9 with Superfan, getting your 5 cost chosen, and then slowly pivoting out of Superfan in favor of like 4 cost units like Thresh, Blitz, and that sort of thing. But anyways, guys, hope this was helpful. Press like and subscribe if you want to help me. It's a great way to help me. Help me, you little goobers. Help me! Hey!